Listen carefully. Life will break you. It will break your confidence, your plans, your dreams, and sometimes even your sense of who you are. But that's not the tragedy. The tragedy is when people stay broken, when they accept defeat as permanent instead of temporary. You see, nobody cares about your excuses. Nobody cares how hard it is for you right now. The world is not waiting to give you sympathy. The world is waiting to see if you will rise again. Rebuilding yourself is not about motivation. It is about decision. The decision to start again when everything inside you screams quit. The decision to stand up when you've been knocked down 100 times. Failure is not your enemy. Failure is your teacher. Every rejection, every mistake, every closed door, it's pushing you toward a version of yourself that is stronger, sharper, and more resilient. But most people don't see it. They cry, they complain, they ask, why me? Stop asking, why me? Start asking, what's next? Rebuilding yourself requires you to let go of the old you, the one who complained, the one who hesitated, the one who waited for someone else to save them. That person must die so a new one can live. Don't expect support. Don't expect people to understand your vision. Don't expect anyone to believe in you at the beginning. When you're at the bottom, people will laugh at you, doubt you, and ignore you. When you rebuild and rise, the same people will say they always believed in you. That is the brutal truth of life. Remember, this pain is temporary, but quitting is forever. You have two choices right now: stay broken or rebuild stronger. The ones who rebuild create empires out of ruins, wealth out of nothing, and confidence out of scars. So ask yourself today, are you ready to rebuild? Are you ready to let failure be your foundation instead of your prison? Are you ready to take the brutal truth of life and turn it into your fuel? Because if you are, nothing can stop you. Not failure, not rejection, not even the world itself. The world respects only one thing: results, and results come only when you refuse to stay broken. Rebuild yourself. The world will not do it for you. Nobody cares about your excuses. Stop waiting for sympathy. The world doesn't care about your problems. It only respects results. Failure is your teacher, not your enemy. Every rejection and mistake is not the end. It's shaping you into someone stronger. The old you must die. If you want a new life, you can't carry the habits, fears, and excuses of your old self. Don't expect support. At the bottom, people will doubt and ignore you. When you rise, the same people will say they always believed. Rebuilding is a choice. You can stay broken or you can rise again. Pain is temporary, but quitting makes failure permanent. Nobody cares about your excuses. This is the first and most brutal truth you must accept if you want to rebuild yourself. When life breaks you down, when you lose your job, when your business collapses, when relationships fail, or when your plans fall apart, the natural reaction is to look around for someone who will listen, someone who will feel sorry for you, someone who will understand your pain. And sometimes you do find people who nod and give you comfort for a moment. But beyond that brief sympathy, nothing changes. The world moves on. People return to their own lives, their own struggles, their own problems. Your pain is not their priority, and your excuses are not their responsibility. If you keep telling the story of how unfair life has been to you, people may listen once, maybe twice, but eventually they stop caring. And that is the reality you must accept if you want to grow stronger. Excuses are poison disguised as comfort. They make you feel better in the short term because they allow you to believe that your situation is out of your control. It wasn't my fault, you tell yourself. If only the circumstances were different, I would have succeeded. But while you are comforting yourself with excuses, someone else out there is working twice as hard, turning their failures into lessons, their pain into fuel, and their setbacks into opportunities. By the time you stop complaining, they are already 10 steps ahead. That is the difference between people who rebuild and people who stay broken. You see, excuses are easy. Anyone can make them. It doesn't take effort to blame the government, the economy, your boss, your family, or your luck. It doesn't take strength to say, I can't because I wasn't given the right chance. But it takes real courage to say, yes, life is unfair, but I will still find a way. The people who rebuild themselves are not the ones with perfect opportunities or endless support. They are the ones who stop caring about what's fair or unfair, and instead focus on what can be done today with the little they have. The truth is, nobody owes you anything. Not your family, not your friends, not your country, not your employer, not even life itself. You were given breath, and what you do with that breath is entirely your responsibility. When you waste it on excuses, you are giving away the power you have to change your story. Nobody can save you from that. Not your teacher, not your partner, not your boss, not your government. You have to save yourself. Think about it. When you succeed, people celebrate you. They admire your strength. They look up to you. They tell your story as inspiration. But before that success, when you are struggling, the same people will doubt you, laugh at you, and sometimes even avoid you. Why? Because the world doesn't reward excuses. It rewards results, and results don't come from talking about why you failed. They come from standing up, trying again, and refusing to stop until you win. So the next time you feel like complaining, remember this: nobody is listening. Even if they nod politely, even if they say, I understand, deep down they are focused on their own problems. You are the only one who can truly carry your burden, the only one who can fight your battles. The faster you stop expecting someone to care, the faster you start moving forward. Excuses are heavy chains. They weigh you down and keep you trapped in the past. Every time you repeat them, you tighten those chains. But when you decide to let go of excuses, when you accept that nobody cares and it is up to you, those chains break. Suddenly, you are free. Free to take responsibility, free to take action, free to rebuild yourself from the ground up. That is when real change begins. Not when you cry about what went wrong, but when you accept that the world doesn't care and you must do it anyway. Failure is your teacher, not your enemy. Most people see failure as a wall, a dead end, a signal that it's time to give up. They feel ashamed, humiliated, or broken when they fall short. But the truth is, failure is not the end of your journey. It's the beginning of wisdom. Every time you fail, life is handing you a lesson. It's exposing your weaknesses, showing you where you're unprepared, and teaching you what you must do differently if you want to succeed next time. If you run away from failure, you run away from growth. If you embrace it, you transform it into the most powerful teacher you'll ever have. Think about your greatest achievements in life. Did they come without mistakes, without struggle, without pain? Of course not. Behind every accomplishment, there were countless failed attempts, countless sleepless nights, countless doubts. Success never arrives without failure paving the way. Yet people fear failure as if it will destroy them, when in reality it is shaping them into someone capable of handling greater success. A person who has never failed is not strong. They are untested. They lack the scars that prove resilience, the lessons that build wisdom, and the toughness that only comes from being knocked down and standing up again. When you fail, you have two choices. You can see it as a curse, or you can see it as a gift. The curse mindset says, this is proof that I'm not good enough, I should quit. The gift mindset says, this is feedback, something is missing, now I know where to improve. The same failure can either crush you or build you, depending on how you interpret it. Those who rebuild themselves understand that failure is nothing more than data. It's information, guidance, and direction. It is life pointing out the exact areas you need to strengthen before you can move to the next level. Look at the most successful people in any field. Business, sports, art, science. Their stories are not smooth paths filled with victories. They are littered with rejection letters, defeats, bankruptcies, broken dreams, and humiliating losses. But instead of letting those failures define them, they let those failures refine them. They studied their mistakes, adjusted their approach, and came back stronger. Every time they were rejected, they built thicker skin. Every time they lost, they sharpened their skills. And eventually those lessons stacked up until they became unstoppable. The problem is not failure. The problem is how you respond to failure. If you see it as a permanent mark on your life, you will stop moving. But if you see it as a temporary step, a teacher disguised as pain, then you'll keep going. You'll fail forward, and each failure will bring you closer to mastery. That is how you rebuild yourself, by seeing failure not as destruction, but as construction. Each mistake is a brick. Each setback is a piece of material, and slowly, those bricks build the foundation of your strength. The brutal truth is this: failure will visit you again and again. You cannot escape it. You cannot hide from it. But you can learn from it. You can use it. You can make it the reason you rise instead of the reason you stop. Failure is not a dead end. It is a redirection. It is life's way of telling you that the path you are on needs adjustment. The ones who listen to failure, the ones who treat it as a mentor, rebuild themselves into versions of strength that success alone could never create. So when you fall, don't curse the ground. Don't drown yourself in shame or self-pity. Look closely at the failure. Ask what it is teaching you. Ask what it is showing you about yourself. And then use it. Because failure is not there to break you. It is there to prepare you. It is not your enemy. It is your teacher, and it will be the most honest one you ever have. The old you must die. That is the cost of transformation, the price of rebuilding yourself. You cannot create a new life while carrying the same habits, the same fears, the same excuses that destroyed the old one. Many people want change, but they are unwilling to let go of the person they used to be. They cling to their comfort zones, their old stories, their familiar patterns, and then wonder why nothing improves. Real change demands sacrifice. It demands that you bury the weaker version of yourself so that a stronger version can rise. Think about it. The old you is the one that gave up too soon, that listened to fear instead of courage, that wasted time instead of building discipline. That version of you is the one that cared too much about what people thought, that hesitated when opportunity knocked, that lived small because of doubt. If you want to step into the future you dream about, you cannot bring that person with you. That version of you is not qualified for the life you desire. They must go. This is why so many people stay stuck. They say they want success, but they still live like the old self. They say they want growth, but they still think the same way, act the same way, and make the same choices that led them to failure. They want change without changing, but you cannot rebuild a new structure on a rotten foundation. You cannot rise while clinging to the weight of your past. Until you let go of the old self, the new self cannot breathe. Killing the old you is not easy. It means breaking habits that have been with you for years. It means facing fears you've been running from your whole life. It means losing friends who prefer the weaker version of you because it makes them comfortable. It means walking away from excuses that once gave you comfort, but in reality kept you trapped. It feels like loss at first, but in truth, it is liberation. You are not losing yourself, you are shedding a skin that no longer fits. When you look back at your failures, understand this: they were not meant to destroy you, but to expose the parts of you that had to die. The indecision had to die. The laziness had to die. The fear of rejection had to die. Every painful experience was life showing you which parts of yourself cannot go with you into the future. Rebuilding is not about adding more, it is about removing what holds you back until only strength remains. This is why transformation often feels lonely. When you decide to kill the old you, many people will not understand. They will accuse you of changing. And they are right, you are changing. They will tell you that you are no longer the same person. And that is the point. You are no longer willing to be the version of yourself that tolerated mediocrity, that settled for less, that hid from greatness. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Their opinions belong to the old life you've left behind. The new is not born from comfort, but from courage. It takes courage to say no to the things that no longer serve you. It takes courage to silence the voice of self-doubt. It takes courage to step into the unknown without guarantees. But that is where the real you lives. That is where the stronger, sharper, more disciplined version of you waits. And the only way to meet that version is to bury the old one. So if you want to rebuild yourself, do not just add motivation. Do not just add goals. Start by removing the parts of you that are holding you back. The excuses, the fear, the hesitation. Let them die. Mourn them if you must, but bury them and move forward. Because only when the old you dies can the new you finally live. Don't expect support. This is one of the hardest lessons to accept when you are in the process of rebuilding yourself. Deep down, most people hope that someone will notice their effort, encourage their journey, and cheer for them when they start again. But reality is far less romantic. When you are at the bottom, when you are struggling to rebuild from nothing, most people will not clap for you. They will doubt you, laugh at you, or ignore you completely. And if you depend on their support to keep moving, you will quit before you even begin. The truth is, people only celebrate results. They don't celebrate your late nights of work. They don't celebrate your endless rejections. And they don't celebrate your lonely battles. They only appear when you've made it, when the results are undeniable, when your success can no longer be questioned. That's when the same people who doubted you will suddenly say, "I always knew you could do it." But while you're still climbing, don't expect applause. Don't expect anyone to believe in your vision as strongly as you do. It's not their dream, it's yours. When you rely on support from others, you give them the power to decide your destiny. If they encourage you, you move. If they doubt you, you stop. That is weakness. Rebuilding yourself requires independence of spirit, the ability to keep going even when nobody understands what you're doing. In fact, sometimes the lack of support is a blessing in disguise. It forces you to develop self-belief so strong that it cannot be shaken by anyone's opinion. It forces you to stop performing for approval and start working for progress. Think about how people react when you first announce a new idea, a new goal, or a new direction. Some will secretly hope you fail because your ambition makes them uncomfortable with their own lack of action. Some will openly discourage you, saying you're not capable, or it's too risky, or it's impossible. Others will smile politely but quietly doubt you. Very few will stand beside you and truly support your journey. That is why expecting support is dangerous, because when it doesn't come, you feel betrayed, abandoned, and tempted to quit. The truth is, nobody sees your vision as clearly as you do. They can't, because it wasn't given to them, it was given to you. They don't see the fire burning in your heart. They don't feel the urgency in your soul. They don't carry the hunger that keeps you awake at night. So stop waiting for them to validate it. Stop expecting them to understand. You don't need their permission to rise. You don't need their approval to rebuild. You only need your own commitment and your own consistency. And here's the irony. Once you rebuild yourself and achieve what you set out to do, those same people who doubted you will suddenly admire you. They will call you an inspiration. They will want to be associated with your success. They will even rewrite the story and say they always believed in you. That is human nature. Most people don't support you in the struggle, but they want to share in the victory. Don't be angry about it. Accept it as reality. Use it as motivation to keep building silently until your results speak so loudly that no one can deny them. So, if you are waiting for support, stop waiting. Support yourself first. Encourage yourself when nobody else does. Be your own coach, your own cheerleader, your own believer. Because if you don't believe in you, nobody else will. And once you rebuild, once you rise, Once you succeed, the support you were waiting for will come. But by then, you won't need it. You will have already proven to yourself that the only support you ever truly needed was your own. Rebuilding is a choice. No matter how broken life leaves you, no matter how deep the wounds are, you always stand at a crossroads. On one side is the path of giving up, accepting defeat and living in the shadow of what happened. On the other side is the path of rising again, using the pain as fuel, and deciding to write a new story. That choice belongs only to you. Nobody can force you to rebuild. Nobody can drag you out of despair. Nobody can breathe life into your future, except you. That is why this truth is so brutal and so liberating, because it puts the responsibility entirely on your shoulders. Most people underestimate the power of choice. They think their circumstances define them, but it is not the circumstance, it is their decision, in response to the circumstance that defines who they are. Two people can experience the same failure. One surrenders and never tries again, while the other uses that same failure as a lesson and comes back stronger. What separates them is not luck, not talent, not opportunity, but the choice they make in the moment of defeat. That is where destinies are created or destroyed. Rebuilding requires that you refuse to be a prisoner of the past. Pain is real, yes. Failure hurts, yes. Rejection leaves scars, yes. But pain, failure, and rejection are all temporary. Quitting, however, makes them permanent. The moment you give up, the moment you surrender, your wounds stop being lessons and become your identity. You carry them forever, because you chose not to rise above them. But when you decide to rebuild, you turn those same wounds into wisdom. You turn scars into strength. You turn tragedy into training. This choice will not feel easy. When you are broken, the easiest thing to do is to stay on the ground, to numb yourself, to tell yourself that you don't care anymore. But deep down, you do care. Deep down, you know that this is not where your story should end. That voice inside you, the one that whispers, "Get up," is your future calling you. And if you silence it, you silence your potential. If you listen to it, you step onto the path of rebuilding, even if the road ahead is long and difficult. Rebuilding is not about one big leap. It is about small decisions made every single day. Choosing discipline when laziness tempts you. Choosing courage when fear screams at you. Choosing progress when comfort tries to hold you back. Each of these choices builds momentum, and over time they shape you into a completely different person. You don't rebuild overnight, but you rebuild through relentless daily commitment. And here's the truth. Nobody can take this choice away from you. Life can take your money, your job, your reputation, even the people you love, but it cannot take away your ability to choose again, to rise again, to rebuild again. That power is always in your hands. Even in your darkest moment, when it feels like everything has been stripped away, the one thing that remains is your freedom to decide, will you stay broken or will you rise? When you finally make the choice to rebuild, the world shifts. Suddenly, what looked like failure begins to look like training. What felt like loss begins to feel like preparation. What seemed like the end reveals itself as the beginning. That is the magic of choice. It doesn't erase the pain, but it transforms it into power. So remember this truth. Rebuilding is not about waiting for the right time, the right opportunity, or the right support. It is about deciding that now is the time, you are the opportunity, and your own strength is the support. Once you make that choice with full conviction, nothing, not rejection, not failure, not doubt, not fear, can hold you down. Pain is temporary, but the decision to rebuild is forever. Rebuilding yourself is not a miracle. It is a decision. It is the courage to look at the broken pieces of your life and refuse to see them as trash, but as material for something greater. It is understanding that excuses won't save you, that failure is here to shape you, that the old you must die, that support will rarely come, and that in the end it is your choice and only your choice. The brutal truth is simple. Nobody is coming to rescue you, but the beautiful truth is just as powerful. You don't need rescuing. Everything you need to rebuild is already inside you. The scars, the lessons, the hunger, the pain, All of it is fueled if you decide to use it. So stop waiting, stop complaining, stop expecting. Rise up piece by piece, step by step, decision by decision. Rebuild yourself into someone so strong, so resilient, so unstoppable, that even life itself will bow to your persistence. This is your time. This is your chance. Rebuild and never look back.